Lesson: Overtime regulations and compliance. Overtime regulations and compliance are critical components of wage and hour laws, significantly impacting both employers and employees. Understanding these regulations is essential for HR leaders to navigate the complexities of employment law and ensure organizational compliance. The Fair Labor Standards Act is the primary legislation governing overtime in the United States, mandating that employees covered by the Act receive overtime pay at a rate of 1.5 times their regular pay for hours worked over 40 in a work week. Similar regulations exist in other countries, each with unique provisions and requirements. For HR leaders operating in a global context, knowledge of these regulations is necessary to avoid costly penalties and maintain fair labor practices. To effectively manage overtime compliance, HR professionals must first identify which employees are eligible for overtime pay. The FLSA distinguishes between exempt and non-exempt employees, with the latter eligible for overtime compensation. Exempt employees typically include those in executive, administrative, or professional roles who meet specific criteria regarding job duties and salary thresholds. A practical tool for HR leaders is the duties test, which evaluates the nature of an employee's job responsibilities against FLSA criteria to determine exemption status. Regularly reviewing job descriptions and classifications ensures accurate employee categorization and compliance with overtime laws. HR leaders should also implement robust time tracking systems to ensure accurate recording of employee hours. Technological solutions like automated timekeeping software can help eliminate manual errors and reduce the risk of non-compliance. These systems should be configured to alert managers and HR personnel when employees approach overtime thresholds, enabling proactive management of workloads and schedules. In addition to tracking hours, HR leaders should establish clear policies around overtime approval and communication. By requiring pre-approval for overtime work, organizations can better control labor costs and ensure that overtime is used judiciously. Regular training sessions can reinforce these policies and educate employees on their rights and responsibilities concerning overtime. Effective communication is crucial in managing overtime compliance. HR leaders should maintain open channels of communication with employees and managers to address concerns and clarify expectations. Regularly disseminating information about overtime policies, employee rights, and compliance requirements can help foster a culture of transparency and trust. Additionally, HR leaders should encourage managers to regularly review and discuss workload and scheduling with their teams, ensuring that overtime is necessary and justified. A case study in the retail industry highlights the importance of communication in managing overtime compliance. A national retailer faced significant financial penalties due to widespread overtime violations. The company's HR leaders implemented a comprehensive communication strategy, including regular training sessions and clear policy guidelines to address the issue. As a result, the company reduced overtime violations by 40% within 6 months, demonstrating the effectiveness of proactive communication in achieving compliance. HR leaders should also be aware of the potential legal consequences of non-compliance with overtime regulations. In recent years, there has been an increase in collective actions and lawsuits related to overtime violations. A notable example is the 2018 case involving a major technology company, which settled a class action lawsuit for $100 million over unpaid overtime claims. This case underscores the importance of rigorous compliance efforts and the potential financial and reputational damage resulting from non-compliance. To mitigate these risks, HR leaders should conduct regular compliance audits to identify and address any gaps in their overtime practices. Audits should include a review of timekeeping records, employee classifications, and policy adherence. Engaging external legal counsel or consultants with expertise in employment law can provide valuable insights and recommendations for improving compliance practices. Furthermore, HR leaders should be aware of the evolving nature of overtime regulations and remain informed about legislative changes that may impact their organizations. For example, the U.S. Department of Labor periodically updates salary thresholds and exemption criteria, requiring organizations to adjust their practices accordingly. By subscribing to legal updates and participating in industry forums, HR leaders can stay informed about regulatory developments and ensure their organizations remain compliant. Internationally, HR leaders must navigate varying overtime regulations across different jurisdictions. For instance, the European Union's Working Time Directive restricts the average workweek to 48 hours, including overtime, and mandates rest breaks and paid leave. Understanding these differences and their implications for global operations is essential for multinational organizations to maintain compliance across borders. Finally, HR leaders should consider the broader implications of overtime practices on employee well-being and engagement. Excessive overtime can lead to burnout, decreased productivity, and increased turnover, negatively impacting organizational performance. A study by the Harvard Business Review found that employees who regularly work more than 50 hours per week are at a higher risk of experiencing stress and health issues. To address these concerns, HR leaders should promote a balanced approach to workload management, encouraging flexible work arrangements and emphasizing the importance of work-life balance. Implementing wellness programs and providing resources for stress management can also support employee well-being and contribute to a positive work environment. In conclusion, managing overtime regulations and compliance is a multifaceted challenge that requires HR leaders to adopt a proactive and comprehensive approach. By accurately classifying employees, implementing effective time tracking systems, and fostering open communication, organizations can ensure compliance with overtime laws and mitigate legal risks. Regular audits and staying informed about regulatory changes further support compliance efforts. Additionally, considering the impact of overtime practices on employee well-being and engagement is vital for maintaining a productive and motivated workforce. Through these strategies, HR leaders can effectively navigate the complexities of overtime regulations and contribute to the overall success of their organizations.